Good evening, I'm Shane Jones with the Monday, December 5th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story at 7, we are hearing that the discolored water problem at the Worthing Beach has been rectified. Reports are that the sluice gate was closed this morning, stopping the runoff water from entering the beach. A high-level meeting was convened this afternoon at the Barbados Water Authority, chaired by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Joy St. John. It is understood that an agreement on action to be taken over the long and short term has been worked out for both the South Coast Sewage Plant and the Graham Hall Swamp. This would entail repairs to the South Coast Treatment Plant, the sluice gate at Worthing, and a monitoring program to look at manholes and junction boxes to minimize stormwater inflow. We'll talk in a few minutes to the Acting Director of the Environmental Protection Department, Anthony Headley, about the situation. Well, the opposition, residents, business owners and visitors are calling on government to urgently address the sanitation and health issues that have forced the closure of Worthing Beach. Their appeal came as opposition leader Mia Motley held a media briefing on the site late this afternoon. Kent Jerson was there and filed this report.
While the CBC team was waiting for Ms. Motley to arrive, these signs were being erected. She arrived with other Barbados Labour Party parliamentarians and several stakeholders. Ms. Motley wants Prime Minister Frundell Stewart to respond quickly to what she has deemed a crisis.
1, meet with the residents and the owners of businesses. 2, make available whatever resources are necessary to urgently resolve this crisis in relation to the sewage issues on the South Coast.
Some residents have also voiced their concerns. They are not convinced by assurances from the authorities that what's been flowing into the sea from the Graham Hall Swamp is not sewage.
We have workers who found toilet paper and the feces and everything going into this big pond we have up around. It killed about 200 large tilapia we had.
I'm concerned about our tourism product, but I'm even more concerned for my granddaughters and the potential of cholera or any other disease that could be transmitted as a result of our sanitary conditions in Perron Gap being totally unacceptable.
Business owners have also been feeling the effects of the stench, news of which has traveled way beyond these shores.
Some people have actually been going in the sea, so we don't know what ailments they could come with, but our problem is that we're now also getting calls asking us for people who are coming in February, is this problem going to persist? If so, should we cancel our flights? Should we cancel and not come? You know, it needs to be addressed.
At Vista Villas, we have lost a number of tourists over the last 2 or 3 days. We have lost 3 bookings, potential bookings, because of social media. And we have guests right now that want to leave.
And at least one visitor told CBC he won't be vacationing here anymore. Kent Jerson, CBC News.
Thank you so much, Kent. Well, this just in, there's a statement from the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport. It says on Tuesday, November 29, 2016, Barbados recorded over 6 inches of rainfall within a few hours. This was an unusual occurrence as the last rainfall of similar intensity occurred in 1995. As a result of this high rainfall and extensive storm water runoff into Graham Hall Swamp, the low-lying areas within the Seward catchment areas were impacted by infiltration. The system was not designed to handle both wastewater and infiltrated stormwater. A decision was therefore taken to open the sluice gates in order to lower the water activity level in Graham Hall Swamp and reduce infiltration into the sewer system. This was normally done to manage the water level in the swamp to prevent flooding in the surrounding areas. Additionally, a few manholes were impacted in the Worthing area. Out of an abundance of caution, a decision was taken by the Ministry of Health and the National Conservation Commission to temporarily close Worthing Beach, which is adjacent to the sluice gate. The area is being constantly monitored by the Environmental Protection Department. The length of Worthing Beach is approximately a quarter of a mile out of a total of 17 miles of Barbados coastline. Historical monitoring has shown that if there is a breach of recreational water quality standards after significant rainfall, bacteriological levels return to normal within 6 to 8 hours after the event. 1 week has passed since last week's flooding. The Ministry of Tourism and International Transport is satisfied that the multi-sectoral approach taken to this issue will yield sustained results, and it will be providing financial support for implementing these measures. Government, through a collaborative approach, is working to ensure that the necessary corrective steps are taken to address these matters. A detailed statement on the measures being taken will be released by the Government Information Service. That's a statement from the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport. Well, joining us live now is the Acting Director of the Environmental Protection Department, Anthony Headley. Mr. Headley, good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. First of all, just break down for everyone at home what exactly is happening, because you know these residents on the South Coast Belt have been waking up to these foul scents. But tell us what exactly has been happening.
Good evening, Shane. Thank you. What has happened is we had two issues, or basically one issue which led to the second one. The significant amount of rain resulted in infiltration into the sewer network. With this additional water going into the sewer network, it increased the pressure in the low-lying areas of the sewer network, and that resulted in some of the wastewater within the sewer network escaping and finding its way into our drainage network, and some of that wastewater got into the Graham Hall Swamp area. When that water got into the Graham Hall Swamp area, the combination of the stormwater and the wastewater from the sewer network resulted in a reduction in the oxygen levels within the water. And we had basically anaerobic conditions being established. With anaerobic conditions, you produce gases that are odorous. They're known as mercaptans. They have this sulfur type smell. They could be quite pungent. And that's basically what has occurred.
Okay, so that is the reason for the scent. So what about the environmental implications now? Okay,
the environmental implications are associated with the hazard. And in this case, the hazard is the combination of the stormwater as well as the wastewater that escaped the wastewater treatment collection system. As you know, wastewater contains microorganisms which can result in health implications. So out of an abundance of caution, we had recommended to the Ministry of Health that the areas closer to where the discharge occurred should have been closed, which occurred. And therefore, we removed, by closing the beach, we basically separate individuals, people, from that potential hazard.
Okay, so you've mentioned some of the measures taken, and we heard from the ministry that this is what water levels that we haven't seen since 1995. People at home are wondering, how bad is the situation?
Okay, we are actually carrying out additional assessments. We have a routine monitoring program where we sample the beach, and that beach is actually of pristine quality. We actually took samples this morning. It's going to take about 48 hours before we get those results. We're going to be taking samples again on Wednesday, and this is to confirm that the levels are within acceptable standards. Even though we closed the beach, we were not saying that the standards were breached. We were just saying that there was the potential for a hazard was potentially present, and we wanted to ensure that no one used the water while we evaluate the situation to ensure that the water is safe.
So what advice is coming from your department? Because there people might be wondering, every time there's some rainfall, I know they said that it hasn't been this bad since 1995, but surely a couple of weeks ago they were having some problems with the scent in that area. So what is the advice going forward? Okay,
there's a committee that has been established. And this committee has looked at all of the issues based upon the reports and the complaints that we've received from the public. Those are going to be prioritized, and then we'll establish solutions for each one. So for instance, the issue of the infiltration, what we want to do is to prevent any more wastewater from escaping the sewer system. So the water authorities have identified, or they're beginning to identify, all of those areas where the sewer network is below the flood inundation levels. Inspectors from the water authorities as well as the Ministry of Health would be going out to inspect those properties to look to see where or how this water is getting into the sewer network, and then we'll implement measures to prevent these additional flows getting into the storm network.
Okay, and from where you sit, how comfortable and confident are you that this can be remedied?
I'm quite confident that this can be remedied. We must recognize that within our environment, we're a tropical environment. And even though the hazard in this case may be a microbiological hazard, because of the mixing processes that occur within our marine environment, the amount of sunshine that we get, those types of situations do not last long. Okay. We're just being a bit cautious in this particular instance to ensure that no one is impacted adversely from this unfortunate event.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the Acting Director of the Environmental Protection Department, Anthony Headley. We'll take a short break here and come back with more news.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
What's your idea of holiday happiness?
Watching the kids open presents. Preparing for a new arrival.
The look on his face. Add to your holiday happiness with a Scotia Plan loan from Scotiabank. You could win cash and more. Get your loan today at your nearest branch. Conditions apply.
It's the most wonderful time to stay connected with Flow. Get great deals on prepaid and postpaid plans. Get double the talk, double the text, and double the data when you activate a prepaid or postpaid combo plan, sizes medium and up. All this plus $50,000 to be won from Flow this wonderful Christmas. Visit us in store today. 'Cause it's the most wonderful time of the
All Barbadians living with HIV will now have access to antiretroviral drugs. This announcement was made by Minister of Health John Boyce on the heels of World AIDS Day, which was celebrated on December 1st. Minister Boyce says in the past, persons with HIV only received the drugs when their CD4 cells dropped below a particular number. However, the World Health Organization subsequently revised the criteria in September last year and launched Treat All, a program which recommends that all persons with HIV receive treatment as soon as they're diagnosed. Barbados made the decision to adopt this program in January of this year.
State that all HIV-positive pregnant women are offered lifelong treatment, not only to reduce the risk of HIV transmission to their children, but also for their own benefit and to reduce the likelihood of HIV transmission to their partners. This was followed by the full implementation of Treat All at the Lady Mead Reference Unit from October 2016. And now today, I am announcing that this program will be island-wide.
Israel has stepped in to help Barbados after hearing of a lack of resources at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Or Denise Blackman has that story.
It was the charity Broadway to Barbados which extended a hand to the Israeli government, inviting them to provide training to local accident and emergency staff. The ambassador of Israel to Barbados says the Israeli medical and sciences sector has a lot to contribute.
Israel has went through this process of development from being an underdeveloped country 68 years ago to becoming a very vibrant and fully developed country today. With all spheres of life, Israel is a leader in high-tech, in innovation, in startups, is a leader in academic research, in science.
2 Israeli physicians have therefore flown in to train doctors over a 2-week period in the use of ultrasound machines. The Massey Foundation and the Broadway to Barbados also funded 2 new ultrasound machines and further accident and emergency training. The training and new equipment total almost $250,000. QEH CEO Dr. Dexter James explains the Broadway to Barbados QEH relationship has become very intertwined.
In the trust deed, there are rights and responsibilities provided both to the trust and ourselves. So for instance, the trust, with prior announcement, reserve the right to inspect the facilities to make sure that their investment is protected and is used for its intended purpose.
Minister of Health John Boyce says it's these partnerships which allow for training that keep the QEH afloat.
We also have then to make sure that our experts here, whether they're doctors, nurses, or indeed ancillary staff, are aware of the kind of practices which must accompany this usually very, very sensitive equipment, the management of it, the interpretation, of course, of the data that is derived, and the ability to make the maximum benefit to our patients.
And Chairman Richard Bork says the charity will continue to invest in the QEH.
We want to make sure that the projects are bringing some benefits, be it cost savings to the hospital, or productivity improvements, or improved care to the patients.
Broadway to Barbados donates only to the hospital, and it recently invited a QEH representative to sit on that charity's board. Denise Blackman, CBC News.
A dozen children with special needs got some free surfing lessons over the weekend. The opportunity came through the annual For the Love of Surfing event at Pebbles Beach. One of the organizers, Hayden Rind, hopes the event will be etched in the children's minds and make a difference in their lives.
Joy, the peace, the togetherness. Some of them have never surfed. The smiles on the kids' faces, to be honest, says it all. And even the volunteers and the instructors, when we give in this way, it's a tremendous blessing on us as well. So it's just for the love of surfing and for the joy of the sport.
One parent, Karen Oliver, who attended the event with her son Kwame, lauded the organizers.
Today we're out surfing, having a good time. I do think it's a good exercise for the kids in that once they love water, it's a joy for them. And he has been enjoying himself so far. Can't keep him out of the water, and we look forward to participating in it on an annual basis. Once it's here, we'll be here.
Still to come, thousands paid their final respects to Fidel Castro. But before we get there, here's a tip from Coverly Medical Center.